Welcome to LSC. It's Sports Time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Fuzzy Buckovich. Now, you might not know that name, but he was on an undefeated Hampton football team in 1953. Welcome, Fuzzy. Glad to have you here.
Thanks for inviting me, Bob.
This is kind of a coup for me. I've had your buddy Bud Porter in here, but I've been wanting to get you in here because I want to talk a little bit about that 1953 team. But before we do that, you didn't grow up in Hampton. Actually, you came from Kentucky, right?
Yeah. And
came here in junior high school?
I came here in the summer of '49, started Buckovich Junior High School, and that was in the summer of '49.
Right.
And I spent, of course, 49, 50, and then 51 and 52 I came to Hampton. But yeah, I was not a local guy by all means.
But everybody hears you and talks about you, and they think you're Hampton bred, but you're not.
No, no, I was a country boy.
And you was out at Buckrow. Coach Joe Beck was out there.
Yeah, Beck was there, and let's see, Beck, and we played football. And it's a funny story. Coach Beck ran from a short punt. I never heard of it.
Right.
And because he didn't want to run the double wing, because that's what Coach Easton wanted him to run. So that's what we
well,
ran.
Joe was a little hard-headed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he was. But he was a great guy. We had a lot of fun with him. But we had, I played basketball, and some of the guys that I played with was Ronnie Weber, Tommy Watts, Jack Thacker, Jerry Odell. And a lot of people don't remember, Jerry was a good basketball player.
Okay.
And myself and, geez, a few others. But we had a great basketball team. And that's probably when I first become friends with Jerry Odell.
Right.
But I had met him before that.
Right. Yeah, talk a little bit about that story, because you're a brand new guy in Hampton, and you got somebody going to pick on you right off.
Oh, yeah. I was out, and I hadn't played sports before. And we were out there on the softball field, and there was three guys over there bothering me and saying some few things. And I turned around, and one of them, they really, really wanted to pick a fight. Well, I didn't know anything about fighting. So anyway, this guy comes up behind me and says, are they bothering you? And I turned around to look, and it was Jerry Odell. And he looked at him and said, guys, this is one of my buddies, and if y'all got a problem with him, you got a problem with me. And they said, oh, no, Jerry, he's fine. Whatever you say, Jerry, he's okay. That's how Jerry and I met. And Bob, I love the guy. He's a great friend. He'll always be a great friend. And gosh, we double dated in high school, but we just sort of, he grew up in College Court and I was in Buckrow, and most of the other guys grew up in Hampton and Wythe and that area.
Right.
So we sort of palled around, and we rode, when we played high school, we rode together and all. But
right.
Jerry, to this day, he and I talk 2 or 3 times a week, go to breakfast and play golf. Well, you've met him.
Yeah.
Just a great, great guy. And I've always referred to Jerry as my big brother.
Well, he basically was. He just really looked out,
he did
for
that.
you. So now you're at Buckrow, and then you're a pretty good basketball player.
Yeah.
And somebody from over in the other city, Julie Kahn, said, Fuzzy, we want you to come play basketball for Newport News.
Well, how that happened, we had a teacher named Scooter Huller, who was from Newport News, and he taught history, I believe. But anyway, he watched me play, and he took me over, and I actually practiced with Julie Kahn 2 or 3 times. And he wanted me to come play basketball, and I said, I didn't know anything about the Crabbers tradition. So anyway, I said, oh yeah, I'll be there. So anyway, one day, I'm in the gym, and I don't remember what I was doing, but anyway, I heard somebody say, hey, your name Buckovich? I turned around and looked, and I looked up. I didn't look down, I looked up. There's Doug Royals, Frank Anthony, Lou Allen, and Jerry Odell. And I said, yeah, that's me. He said, I understand you think about going to Newport News. I said, oh yeah, I'm going to go over and play basketball.
He's real happy about it.
And he says, I said, pardon me? No, didn't Suey talk to you about playing football? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I suggest that you reconsider that and you show up at practice. And that was Doug. And Anthony said, Frank said, do you understand that? And Lou says, yeah, I hope you got that. And Jerry said, you better be there. All I did was look and say, I'll be there.
So that wasn't you.
No, I never. No.
No longer were you going to be a typhoon.
Oh no, basketball was out. I showed up at practice.
But
and
then you went over to Hampton and you played football, basketball, and baseball.
Yeah.
As your first year there.
Yeah, sophomore.
But then you worked at the West End Pharmacy, and so you basically gave up basketball.
Yeah.
Which Julie Eason wanted you. I mean, Julie Kahn wanted you to do. You gave it up and stuck with football and baseball.
Baseball, yeah. And I enjoyed it. I mean, I love basketball, but I can never take away what I've learned playing football. And I got to play my sophomore year, and I just love sports, Bob.
Right.
My sophomore year, I played in the outfield. My junior year, I played in the infield with Joey Lawrence. My senior year, they needed a catcher, and that's what I did. I was a catcher.
So you did whatever
I
they
did
needed.
whatever Mike Anastasio wanted me to do, that's what I did.
Right.
Because I just love to play sports.
And you
And I
wanted,
did-
wherever you could help the team.
Oh yeah, but Joey and I had more fun. Oh gosh, let me tell you. I'll tell you a quick story. We were out there practicing one day, and we practiced at the Veterans. And I always knew Joey chewed a little bit of tobacco, so I had to be like Joey. So I said, Joey, let me have a little bit. And he said, now, Fuddy, you got to be careful. Don't swallow it. So I took a big chunk of it. And it was a hot day. And I'm out there. We were running and playing, taking infield. And I misjudged the ball, and it hit me in the stomach. Well, when it did, I swallowed it. Well, Bob, I went on like nothing was wrong. After a while, I got so sick. I said, Coach Mike, may I be excused? I had to run behind the gym because, man, I got so sick. And I said, never again. And I said, Joey, don't ever give me any more tobacco. So I got bubble gum and chewed it after that.
I can hear that.
Oh.
Well, that would have been my choice to begin with. I don't want to do
you know,
it
I want to
chewing.
be like Joey because Joey
Right.
was the big guy.
Well, and Joey was he was such a great infielder.
Oh, yeah.
That he even made the people around him better.
Oh, Joey taught me a lot. I mean, playing second base,
Right.
he taught me how to do the double play and how to come across the bag and kick it, or either hit it and step back and throw the ball instead of trying to hit the runner.
Right.
Joey was great. He was just a great athlete.
He was almost like a coach as
Oh,
a
yeah.
player, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he was great to be around and fun to be around. Joey was a mess. Still is.
Still is. I was going to say he hadn't changed anything.
Oh yeah.
But now you get a chance to play on, and we've got some pictures here, and you got a letter here, undefeated. You guys went undefeated in 1953, and just about all seniors except you.
Yeah. Bob, that team, we scored 305 points and had 45 points scored against us. Now, 9 games, that's 5 points a game. That tells you what kind of a team we had. We had one of the best bunch of guys that loved the game of football. And
Right.
hit, oh my God, they would rather hit you than look at you. I mean, I can remember Jody Smith, and Jody, we called him Mule Train, because Jody,
Mule Train.
Jody during the summer helped the bricklayers. He grabbed these tongs and carried the bricks to the bricklayers. He had a built on him that was just, oh my gosh. But he was probably 175 pounds, but built, had legs on him. He was the type of runner that didn't run around you, he ran over you. And when I say over you, he went right over you and come back and said, boy, that felt good, let's do it again. Oh, he would, he loved it. We used to watch films the following week, and this is no lie, Bob, we would watch him carry 2 guys on his back down the field. He was the strongest runner and a character. He had a laugh. He and Lou Allen had a laugh that you could not imitate. And it just cracked us up a lot of times in the huddle. But we always had Frank and Doug, the co-captains, all right, boys, we got to get straight now.
Right.
Yeah, we got a ball game to win. But they were, that bunch of guys with just, I don't know how they were a bond of brothers that just loved it. And I was just fortunate to be able to make that team. But that team started in 51. They came together in 51, and in 51 was Bull Harrison's last year, and they only lost 1 game, and that was their first game at EC Glass. Okay. And they were down on the 6-yard line, running out of time, and they were losing 13-7 and couldn't get the ball in, and lost that game. They won the rest of them. They were like co-champions. Well, Suey really was upset because I think the last state champion was in 48.
Right.
So he was really looking for another one. So he
Right.
said, okay, 52, we'll have a great team. And in 52, that was my sophomore year. And I tell you what, I thought Coach wanted me to come up there and play. I thought he was going to kill me the first 2 weeks. We practiced morning, noon, and after dinner.
Not 2-a-days, you're talking 3-a-days.
3 times a day. And I thought, my God, I'll never make it. But I wasn't about to quit. Because once you committed that you wanted to play football, you wouldn't. The only way they would have got me off the field was to carry me off. Because I would not quit under nothing. But I thought the man was going to kill me. But I'll tell you later the things that you learn from what Coach Eason did. He was a great man. And but
So
in
what happened in 52? How many games?
52, we started off good, then we lost 2 games, and then tied. We lost 2 and tied 1. But we had 2 great running backs. Was in Charlie Mendel and a guy named Kenny Seals, and Kenny was All-State 51 and 52.
Right.
And but I don't know what happened, but it really.
But you gelled in 53.
53 was a different. They had been together for 3 years, this team,
Right.
and the line was basically the same. And it wasn't a big line, Bob. The ends were Estes and Forrest. They were probably 175. The 2 tackles were Doug Royals and Lou Allen. They were the 2 biggest. I say they might have hit 200. The 2 guards were Jerry Odell and Frank Anthony, and I would say they were 175.
Okay.
Henry Van Sant was a center, and he's probably 175. And in the backfield was Jody at left half, and Jody was probably 175. And I was maybe 150. With my uniform, 155. And then we had Gray Lynn and then Leon Miller.
Right.
But Jody, when we got there, he had basically the same line, but where he was just hurt was in the backfield. Now, I was fortunate to play in 52. I don't know why. I was just at the right place at the right time, and I got a lot of experience. So I was hoping I could make the team, because here I am, a junior, playing with all these seniors.
Right.
But Jody was a guard in 51 and 52, so he asked Jody to come up and play play halfback, and Jody said, yeah, I'll come. You could ask them to play any place, they would have gone,
right.
because they wanted to play football.
Right.
And that was the hardest hitting bunch of guys that and I can tell you the 2 weeks that we were playing out there, tackling practice, oh my God, I can remember getting hit. And back then when you hit, you lift and put them on the back. And Doug and them would hit me and knock me down, and they're going to knock the breath, and you go, "Hur!" like that. And they said, Fuzzy, you all right? I couldn't breathe. I didn't have any air left in me. But they were always say, Fuzzy, you all right? And I said, oh yeah, I'm all right. But they loved to hit, and you were going to get it on the field in practice.
Well, they did on practice what they did on the field. Now, you guys went undefeated, but you didn't win the championship because back then they did a point system.
Yeah.
And you lost to Granby by.
No, we didn't lose any games.
I mean, not. I'm talking.
Lost to Granby by half a point.
Half a point. They got the state championship, and you guys.
We got co-champions or runner-ups or whatever.
And you guys wanted to play them, but they wouldn't play you.
Wouldn't do it. Would not. But I think Coach felt so bad for us because he had been trying for the last 3 years, and when this team gelled together, and like I said, it wasn't a big team, but we were so quick. They would just hit you and time. We would hit you as hard in the fourth quarter as we did in the first quarter.
Talk a little bit about the tackling, what you call belly button tackling.
Oh, Coach Eason taught us then. Of course, they don't do it now. But when the guy was running towards you, you didn't look at his head or anything. You looked right at his belly button, and you put that shoulder right in there, and you came up, and then you dropped him right on his back. And that's the way. And we'll talk about.
Let's talk
Chris
about Chris
Hamburger.
Hamburger, because when he went to the Skins,
oh yeah,
that's where he tackled.
Oh yeah, and he was. They were playing the Cleveland Browns, and they had Jim Brown, who was a great runner, hard runner. Every time he came through that line, Chris Hamburger met him, hit him just like Coach Eason showed him, picked him up and set him on his back. And after the game, they interviewed him, and he said, "I'm gonna tell you something. I've been hit hard, but I've never been hit hard as I've been hit by Chris Hamburger. That young man can hit you, But that's the way we were taught.
Right.
Nowadays, they try to knock the ball or arm tackle or take your head off.
It's a different a different era. And you know, talk a little bit about what you have seen changes in football when you were involved, and what you see now when you go to the ball games.
Well, we didn't do any dancing after we made a touchdown.
Well, I know that. Coach East wouldn't allow that.
Let me tell you that.
Yeah.
You'd have been in the pits the following week.
Yeah.
But we didn't go through that hoopla like they do now. But the game has changed. Like I say, they don't hit the way we. And I watch halfbacks cover a man, and they turn their back on the receiver. We never did that. We had a guy named Tommy Evans that played for Hampton earlier in the 40s.
Right, he was in 40s.
And Tommy was a great ball player, and he came out, and Tommy worked with us, the halfbacks, all the time. And he would run me backwards down the field and take the ball and go this way, and you crossed over. And then he'd do that, and you crossed back. You never turned your back on that receiver,
right.
And you kept him right in front of you. Then when the ball was thrown, you played the ball.
Right,
but you never let the guy. But you see, they turn their backs and then looking all around, then they can't find the man.
Right.
Well, and you know, back then, a lot of guys, when you were covering him, you didn't look at his head. You looked right at that belly button.
Well, where's that belly button going?
That's where he's going to be.
Well, we're going to close this down, but before we finish it all up, I want you to tell me about Coach Eason. And now I can call him Suey, but I know you guys was Coach Eason.
Yeah. Well, can I tell you a story about Lou
Absolutely.
Allen? Lou Allen, you have to look at that picture and see that grin. Lou had more personality than anybody. And even after he graduated and came back to Hampton and had his law firm, he was just a great person. A great helper in achievable dreams and the boys club. But Coach had a lot of strict rules. One, you don't date during during football season, and you don't have cars. Well, a lot of guys had the cars, but they had parked 2 or 3 blocks away from the school. So after practice, you know, Coach thought they were going walking home. But not Lou. Lou, he's got to park up by the faculty and the student body. So one day he was parking the car and actually run into this car. So he got out and looked and said, "Oh my God, it's Coach Eason's car." So he said, "Oh my Lord, what am I going to do?" So he decided, okay, I'm going to do the right thing. So he goes in, finds the coach, says, "Coach, you know, I accidentally ran into your car, but I'll take care of it. I'll get it fixed and everything okay." So Coach said, "Okay, Lou, appreciate you coming in, being honest and everything." Okay. So that afternoon, we're suiting up to go practice. So Lou starts telling us about this, and we all stopped and said, "Yeah."
And the coach didn't get mad.
Yeah, and Doug says, "Well, what do you say?" "Well, you know," he just said everything was fine. He appreciated me coming in and was the right thing to do. And Frank says, "That's all he said." Lou said, "Look, the coach and I are just like that." And we said, "Yeah, okay." So we went out and practiced. We thought we were going to have a short practice, and before it ended up, Coach said, "All right, guys, let's go down behind it, and we're going to do a little tackling practice." Well, at the visitors' bleachers, all the way at the end, with a big hole, we call it the pit, filled up with sand, sawdust, and whatever. So we go down and said, "Man, why in the world are we having tackling practice today?" So anyway, we get down there, and Coach said, "Lou, why don't you start us off?" And we said, oh my God. Now here's 30-some guys lined up, and we went through twice, I know. And finally, Coach blew the whistle. He said, "All right, guys, give me 10 and we'll call it a night." Well, we all stopped, and as soon as they got out of sight, we ran over to Lou. And there, Lou trying to get up after doing 60-some tackles. Filthy, sweaty, sawdust, dirt all over him. And Frank and Doug picked him up by his hip pads and said, "Lou, you all right?" He said, Yeah, I'm all right. And he said, "Well, did you learn anything?" And Frank said, "Yeah, did you learn anything?" He said, "Yeah, I learned 2 things. And Jerry said, "What was that?" He said, 1, not to have any more accidents. 2, I'm a better tackler." Well, I thought we would bust out laughing. But that was how would you say it, the way the guys took, they didn't take it negative.
Right.
They made a negative and made a positive. And that's a positive attitude we had. If he said, "Give us 10 laps," we did 20.
Right.
We was not going to let him think that we couldn't do
More than what
he wanted. And we did. But that's all the suffering that you would go through, Bob. Suffering produced endurance. endurance produced character, and character produced hope. And hope was never disappointing. And those are just some of the things that man, you didn't realize it at a young age, but you did later. And, you know, he brought you together as a team. He taught you what leadership was, what teamwork, what responsibility, and respect. Every time I ran around that way, I knew Jody was going to block the end or whatever. That's the respect I had for him, the same way with me.
Right.
And you learned what responsibility. We knew that each one of us had a job to do to make the play work. And if you didn't, it wasn't going to work.
Right.
So we learned what responsibility was. We learned all those things, but not until later in life did you realize, well, why did I do that? It was things that man taught you. And I'll be very honest, I loved the man. A lot of guys wouldn't say that, and I'm gonna probably catch it at breakfast, but that's okay. I really, truly loved the man. I thought the man, I learned a lot from him.
Well, I appreciate you coming in and sharing and being forthright with your emotions, and you know, to have somebody that coached you that you still think that much about. That's wonderful, Fuzzy. I really do.
Yeah, have got one more minute.
Okay, what do you got?
I had the opportunity. I always wanted to tell Coach Eason what I felt. And this was probably back in '83. My wife, Helen, and I were riding by his house. And there the coach was, standing by the house. And I said, darn, there's Coach Eason. And so Helen said, well, back up and go talk to him. So I backed up, got out of the car, and I'm walking towards him. And he turns like looking at me, and he's probably thinking, who is this guy walking up here, and what does he want? And I'm walking towards him thinking he probably don't know who I am, because Coach was having some problems, was sick. So I got up close to him and I stuck out my hand, and he stuck out his hand. I said, Coach, he said, Fuzzy, how you doing? Well, Bob, to think that the guy still remembered me. And he sort of hugged me and patted me on the back. Then he pushed me away, and like he always did when he was talking to you, he always put that left hand up on your shoulder and squeezed, and he said, boy, you got some meat up there. I said, yeah, I wish I'd have had it when I was playing ball. But anyway, he went off and named off Jerry, Frank, Doug, that whole
All those
team.
guys, yeah.
And he said, you know, I'm trying to get Jimmy to have a little get-together. I said, well, tell him to call me. Well, that's what began the 500th reunion. And at the 500th reunion, Lou and I worked on that, and we got everybody we could. But at the head table was Coach Eason, Chris Hamburg, and Dick Vermeil. Every one of us went up there and talked to him. That man had the biggest smile on his face all night long. And I know he felt good, and we all felt good about it. And it was shortly after that we lost him, but he was, to me, a great man, a great coach.
Wow.
And he could get in your head, let me tell you. But he was the one that would believe that if you worked hard enough and wanted to win bad enough, you could, and we did.
Yeah. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
Bob, my pleasure.
Listen, I want to thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank the special guest, Fuzzy Buckovich. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Until next time.